complicated story. Thank you so much, Kelly, for that. Joining me now is former FBI Assistant Director for Counterintelligence and NBC News national security contributor Frank Figliuzzi. Frank, welcome to you. Good to see you. Let's get into this because the president, as you know, is calling this, quote, the Ukraine witch hunt. But just on the face of what we know, what is your interpretation of this complaint, given all of your intelligence experience?
Yeah, I look at this through two lenses. One is through the criminal federal laws that we might be looking at here that are in play, and the second is through the counterintelligence lens. So let's quickly look at both. The conduct that's alleged against the president squarely fits a very popular, very highly used federal corruption statute that basically says this: if you're a public official and you're seeking something of value in return for a promise of an official act by you, you violated the law. So the thing of value would be seeking an investigation of your political opponent, Biden or his son. The official act you could hand them in return for that personal favor would be $250 million in military aid. It doesn't have to be a direct cited quid pro quo. It could be inferred. It could be implied by Trump and inferred by the Ukrainian. So that's a criminal problem that the president's facing. Now let's look at the general counterintelligence problem. When you seek that kind of personal favor from a foreign leader, you are essentially handing him a means to compromise you. So I hear a lot of talk about, well, who would have known, who would be in the room, who knows the content of this conversation? Well, it's translators, it's aides, it's people in the intelligence community listening to the foreign leader. But let's not forget one of the key people who knows exactly what happened in that conversation, and that's the president of Ukraine. At any time now, the president of Ukraine, because he now owns our president, can come out and give us the dirt, the details, the skinny on a law that the president may have violated. That's precisely why you can't do this kind of thing with a foreign leader.
One more detail to drill down on, and that being that even if there is no quid pro quo, there's no allegation of withholding money, take money out of all of this. If the president is using the office, the Oval Office, to dig up dirt on a potential opponent, how does that play out, criminally speaking?
Well, first, the statute I'm referring to in Title 18 of the U.S. Code actually says it could be direct or indirect. So, Alex, if I've got the ability to give you a ton of cash, and you know that, and I say, Alex, I need you to do me a personal favor, you can infer that that favor is tied to me giving you that cash. And it doesn't have to be direct. And plenty of public officials throughout the United States have been convicted for corruption simply because of an indirect inference or implication.
Okay. I want to take a look at this. Earlier, a former FBI double agent, that's Naveed Jamali, had a bit of a different take on the complaint, saying that this person may have been concerned that they were being asked to break a law. Take a listen to this.
I think this is beyond just a phone call. I think most likely there was a follow-up action or actions that were meant to reinforce this push to get Ukraine to help him. I don't think that the person saw the transcript of the phone call, was in the room with the president. Rather, I think it's more likely that they were involved in actually the subsequent action. This could be something as simple as this person got this order. They were ordered to act on this specific thing, and they were concerned about breaking the law. But I think that it was also much more practical, which is they probably didn't want to go to jail.
Look, and I'm reminded that, you remember Rex Tillerson came out after he left office saying that part of the consternation between he and the president was that he pushed back when he said the president asked him to do things that were breaking the law. So put all of this together, what you know about this kind of a scenarios, you have investigated leaks. How does this play out for you?
Well, we've got to get to the bottom of this, and we can't rely on leaks and certain reporters getting certain tidbits of information. This has to be fully explored, and it's quite likely this is going to end up in a criminal investigation. I've actually publicly stated that this whistleblower has about a week to decide whether or not the acting DNI is going to do the right thing and give the full substance of this to Congress. If that doesn't happen, Alex, I believe this whistleblower can go to the FBI and say, I believe I'm part of a violation of law. I've witnessed it or been asked to be a part of it. and that gets the whistleblower out from under any concern that he or she's going to be attacked for giving up classified, because he's giving it to the FBI. So I think that's one out here. I also think this is very strong evidence of another reason to move forward with impeachment proceedings. We can't rely on the Attorney General here to do the right thing, but clearly this whistleblower is trying to do the right thing, may have witnessed a crime. I also, by the way, think Rudy Giuliani is heavily exposed here. We keep hearing about executive privilege. Well, remember this, Giuliani is the private attorney for the president. That's not executive privilege. It could be attorney-client privilege, but that doesn't apply to violations of the law. So Giuliani's heavily exposed here. He knows it. The whistleblower may be exposed, but he or she did the right thing. We need to look at others who are not doing the right thing, call them to testify, get them to tell us what they know.
Here's an interesting angle, though, and it's put out by the Washington Post in a new article, which writes that the president and the public disclosures have become routine, and, quote, on the implicit theory that the president's alleged offenses can't be that serious if he commits them in full public view. Why does this matter? Why is it a danger to national security?
Well, first of all, the president doesn't get half of the national security implications of what he does, and I think this is Exhibit A. He thinks this is totally appropriate. He said repeatedly, it was a beautiful conversation, totally appropriate. I'm telling you that right now the president of Ukraine owns this president. He could come out and tell us exactly whether this president did something inappropriate or not. We don't want our president in that shape. The other thing is he totally ignores the advice and counsel of the intelligence community and gets into these traps. We have a president who's simply established repeatedly that he is compromisable, and it takes us right back to the Russian allegation of, we all were scratching our heads saying, could he be compromised? How could that have happened? We've just watched this play out in the example of Ukraine. He could owe something to the Russians. He may have asked them to do him a personal favor, and we're seeing the evidence in plain sight, and no one